So, I've been a sports fan. I have a couple huge interests in my life, and sports are one of them. The arts and different types of arts are another aspect that I have a huge interest in and a fan of. And so, whenever a particular season ends, and mine football is the one that I know the best, there's always that kind of that lull. What am I going to spend my time watching? What am I going to do? That usually lasts about a week or 2 weeks, and then I find something, another type of sporting activity or another form of art to start following and get interest until football comes back. But a few weeks ago, a few episodes ago, we did a spot in talking about are you a Bears fan or a Packers fan? And I think it's a pretty natural or normal thing for us to gravitate toward a particular team. And I think there's benefits of first becoming interested in your team and the aspect of all the things that make that team a good team, what allows it to be a successful team. But I think one of the downsides of that can lead to this idea of tribalism, this idea that my tribe is the strongest, is the best, is the only one that I can be loyal to. At a certain time period in our culture, in our history, that was extremely important. And today, though I do think there's an element to it that is critical in our development, but if we stay there too long, it becomes detrimental. Watched the Super Bowl last night, and San Francisco against Kansas City, and one of the biggest things that I was excited about regarding watching that game is I didn't have a particular interest in what team won. It didn't matter to me, really, if the San Francisco 49ers won or if Kansas City Chiefs won. There was rationale where I could pick a side or pick a team. But the truth is that I didn't have a team that I was favoring emotionally or mentally. What I was interested in was watching an exciting competition, watching an exciting game, watching some of the top athletes that play this particular sport at their best on the highest level. And as I watched the game last night, I got to see that. I got to see two teams go back and forth, the lead changing both times. That strategy was put in place to come from behind. And in this particular case, Kansas City ended up being the victor. Now, they're going to be called world champions. But that's, I think, by no means can anyone say that the 49ers are losers. They were runner-up in the Super Bowl. They clearly dominated teams this year. And the reality of even that is that they dominated teams with some of the best players, the ones they dominated, some of the best players in the world at their particular craft and their particular activity. How someone could be a professional athlete and we have the arrogance and ignorance to say that they're not good at what they do when they're 0.25% of the top of their game, and that people don't only dream about doing. I think this whole element of what we can learn on the journey is the most critical part. Last night, watching that event, watching not only what I saw on the field, but even watching halftime, was we have a 40-something-year-old Colombian woman and a young 50-year-old woman not having any body shame and performing their songs, performing their crafts as dancers, and representing the Latino community as well as representing America at the same time. That, to me, I know there's been tons of criticism regarding that, which doesn't make sense to me. Why would you criticize individuals that put what appeared to be everything they had out on the stage? I know for me, as I was watching them, they were able to do stuff that I would only wish I could be able to do, similar to what I saw on the field, as well as singing and entertaining along with their dancing. To me, that is all part of what the arts do and all what sports do. It is about pushing yourself and putting yourself out there. It isn't about the outcome as much as it's about the journey and how we develop into it. this idea of my team versus that team or their team. It is critical. That's where we have to start and completely understand that. But then there's also a critical part of being able to transcend that and see the bigger aspect of it, of that there is more to that for me to learn about the game of football in itself by watching both teams and watching the strategy happen. There's more to the arts than just having one particular genre that I may prefer. Being stretched out and seeing other genres and being exposed to other types of genres. I think this is what makes us fully human and continue to grow. This is what I would invite all of us into. It's what I stretch myself into out of my own comfort zone. But I think last night, being able to watch that game, reflecting on a sport that I'm not necessarily a huge follower of, basketball, and coming off the backside of Kobe Bryant's death and what Kobe represented to all of us who are sports fans, but just and more important that as he pursued excellence in his particular craft, as he was merging into the second, recreating himself, that he was now had a platform which he worked toward of being excellent in other areas, not just a man, not just a husband and a father, but how he was going to provide excellence for the overall community, like he did with his sport in basketball, that he was going to do as the career ended. His life got cut short, but I think that example of that legacy can live on, and I think that's most important. As we become fans of football in general, or sports in general, or the arts in general, or whatever your craft may be, it's more about the journey and what you learn along the way through the setbacks as well as the victories than it is for a particular outcome.